reflections today is going to be on the Gospel of John chapter 9, where Jesus heals the blind man. Some may greet people with a meaningless hi, which interestingly enough was first used by a Kansas First Nation member in 1862. Or we may use the equally meaningless hello, which only came into existence because they needed some way for people to greet one another when the telephone came into existence. Neither of these two greetings carry much relational weight. We don't even have to look at the person to say hi or hello. If you come and walk with me in Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, you'll probably be greeted as you're walking by total strangers with Sawubona. This greeting is spoken by looking directly at you, and that means, I see you. Our text in John 9 raises some interesting questions. What does it mean to be born blind? What does it mean to be blind? What does it mean to see? What does it mean to be seen? In verse 1 we are told that Jesus saw the man born blind from birth. Is this the first time the blind man had been seen? Imagine what it's like to be blind. This man had been blind since birth, we are told, and he has never seen light. Being blind meant that he was relegated to the edge of society. He had no place. He wasn't a productive member of society, so he probably didn't contribute to the economy. Some probably saw him as a drain on the economy. He is dependent on others to get around. He could not dream about the future. He could set no goals for a future, for he had none. He was just a blind man with no name. Society just knew him that way, as a blind man. He was invisible, ignored. The children probably mocked and teased him as they went by. More importantly, the disciples are caught up in the social gossip about him. They raised a question that had been posed by many people in that society, and they now wanted to know, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? They, like the rest, are caught up in seeking the cause of his blindness. They see his blindness as the effect. But what is the cause? Who is the cause? If the cause is either with himself or his parents, it makes no difference, since both will be looked askance at by the rest of society. One or both must be guilty. The blind man is treated like an object. He has no personhood. They do not see a person, a man, only a blind man, someone who is blind. Women have experienced this deep personalization in the past. Before the suffragette movement, companies in law were seen as persons, but women were not. But seeing and responding only to one particular aspect of a person is also the root of all racism. Racists only see the color of a person's skin and make their judgment based upon the person, that one fact alone. President Trump's racism was expressed when he called Africa a shithole country. He only saw the color of the skin and grouped everyone together, failing to recognize that not all Africans are black. There's a marked difference between the populations between those north and south of the Sahara Desert. I wonder what it is like for people of Africa not to be seen by the President of the United States of America. But he's not the only one who bases the judgment upon others on the strictly basis of color. The association that accredits theological seminaries throughout North America requires the seminaries to tick a box whether the faculty and member or students are either black or white. This is also the basis of racial profiling. A 14-year-old boy adopted by his mother from KwaZulu-Natal, they're walking through a mall in Toronto when she sends him out with some parcels to take it back to the car. Someone sees him putting parcels in the car and calls security that there's a young man, black man, breaking into cars. He was detained, questioned. A week later, he and his mother are back in another store in Toronto when she again asked him to take some parcels to the car and then come and rejoin her. He put the parcels in the car and then walked back slowly to his mother. And as he was walking through the store, someone went to the security and told them that there was a young black man shoplifting. What is it like to be judged by the color of one's skin and not truly by who one is? What is truly disturbing about these two events for me, and what is truly racist, is the security who did not ask the accusers for their information, their name, their address, their phone number. The Pharisees are determined to nail Jesus. Even though they see the blind man can now see, they do not celebrate, but they continue to relate to him as that blind man, the unseen one, the one without a name. Sabona, I see you. Jesus does not see a blind man, but a blind man who is blind. Before the man whom the community knew as a blind man, Jesus acts. Jesus spat on the ground and made clay, which he then used to anoint the man's eyes. Jesus then instructed the man to go and wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. The man goes and washes and comes back seeing. Sawana, I see you. The neighbors see the man, but they do not see him. Jesus' act triggers a number of reactions. The neighbors are perplexed and confused. Some remember him as the blind beggar, while others doubt that it's even the same man. The man's response is simply to tell them, the man called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes and said to me, go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed and received my sight. Their interest is piqued and they want to know where Jesus is. But he responds, I do not know. Sabona, I see you. What do the Pharisees see? The man is brought to the Pharisees. The religious leaders see the man, but they fail to see him, since their thoughts are not about him, but about Jesus. One would have expected some recognition and pleasure that one of their own community who'd been blind since birth can now see. But they don't see him. Their thoughts are somewhere else. Sabona, I see you. The Pharisees see someone who is offended, not just them, but as guardians of God's law, but God. The Sabbath had been desecrated by Jesus by healing the blind man. More than that, he kneaded the clay like a baker kneads dough, a forbidden act on the Sabbath. The response to the witness of the man is about Jesus. This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. Others question how a sinner could perform such signs. This led to a division within the group, so they decided they needed to question the blind man again. The response to their question about who is this man Jesus is, he's a prophet. The formerly blind man can see, but does he really see? The offense of Jesus is not simply that he broke the Sabbath laws. His actions witness to something more profound and disturbing to the religious leaders. By healing the blind man, Jesus was claiming to be God. Healing a man blind from birth is an act of creation, and Jesus is the creator. By taking clay and molding it appears to reflect God's act of creation in the second creation account in Genesis 2. In that account, God takes clay from the ground. God then molds the clay with God's hands and breathes into it to create a living human being. By this act, Jesus is claiming to be God, a claim that is surely to offend the religious leaders. They are aware of Jesus and what he was doing, and felt a strong need to defend not just themselves, but their community and God as well. So when the parents are interrogated and asked if the man was their son, they were extremely afraid of what may happen to them. The penalty to claim that Jesus was the Messiah was well known. From verse 20 to 23, we read, his parents answered, we know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. But how he now sees, we do not know. Nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He is of age. He speaks for himself. His parents said this because they feared the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that if anyone should confess him to be Christ, he was to be put out of the synagogue. Therefore his parents said, he's of age. Ask him. The religious leaders refused to give up their pursuit of Jesus and interrogate the man a second time. He makes no claim other than to repeat the facts of what occurred. What riles the religious leaders is his question to them. Do you want to become his disciples? But the man does not give up and responds, never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. This did not go over well with the religious leaders. They resorted to denigrating the man so that he would have no credibility in the community. You were born in utter sin, and you would teach us, and they cast him out. Sabona, I see you. Does the blind man see? He has vision now in his eyes, but does he truly see? Does he see more than the religious leaders? Does he see who cured the blind man? He sees him. He seeks out the man, and Jesus comes and finds him. When he finds the man, he asks him, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He still does not see Jesus, for he responds, "But who is he, so that I may believe in him?" Sabona, I see you. Then he really, truly sees. Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. Sabona, I see you. Jesus sees you not where you are and no matter who you are. He not only sees you, he comes looking for you. He knows your name. When Jesus sees you, he sees past all those things that are used by you and others to identify and characterize you. He sees you withdrawn into a corner, ignored by those passing by. He sees you as one whom God loves and cares for. He stops and touches your eyes so that you may truly see him. Think what it's like for the blind man to be seen, to be treated as a person of worth, of value, while society may walk past you. His life, your life, may never be the same. A woman and a granddaughter are walking down the streets of downtown Ottawa. As they pass a homeless man sitting on the sidewalk, the woman stops to talk to him. Much to the granddaughter's embarrassment, this woman then sits down beside the man on the sidewalk, where they continue to chat. After a while, this woman gets up and invites the man to come with her to a restaurant for a cup of coffee. He was seen. I wonder what his life was like after he experienced being